Ave strategos, I'm Pericles and welcome back. We are continuing to our temple guides. As you know, we do them every week, and this week I decided to continue with another Greek cultured faction, the Macedons. If you remember, the last episode was about the Greek cities, and so today we'll be talking about the Macedon temples and their bonuses, pretty much where you can use them, when you can use them, what kind of traits and followers they might unlock for us. So pretty much everything. I'll do my best for being as detailed as possible. So as you already know, folks, the Macedons have four temple options, four religious building options, as well as all the Romans and Greek cities. So one of them is a Demeter, Zeus, Artemis, and Ares. And I will go one by one. If you already know, if you already checked the previous episodes of the temple guides, you know how it goes. But for the new viewers, I'll just explain once more. So usually I do use folks console commands on this series for cleaning all the traits and followers from my generals, from my family members, and adding only the traits and the followers that are related to those religious buildings. So it's not being mixed up or stuff. And also, I will be basically um, getting into every detail with per basically tier of the building. So let's start with the Demeter. So in Villa Zora, I built a Temple of Demeter. I went with the Demeter line in this settlement. So the first tier of this Demeter building is Shrine to Demeter. So before getting into that, let's talk about what kind of temple is this basically branch. What is this? So this line considered as a temple of farming. Um, if you already watched my previous episodes, as you already know, there should be uh, temple of farming for Carthaginians and Numidians. Even I didn't make a separate video for Numidians because Carthage and Numidian temples are exact same. So they have Tanit, that's how it's called instead of Demeter. That is their farming temple, and we've already talked about the temple of farming with Carthaginians. So Macedons have the same. There's pretty much, I would say, maybe all of the traits and followers are the exact same since they are the same temple. But sometimes it differs from faction to faction because they are different cultures. Macedons are the Greek culture, but the Carthaginians are the Carthaginian culture. Also, Numidians are Carthaginian culture. So now let's go for the first tier, Shrine to Demeter. Let's see what it gives to us, the building itself. 5% public order bonus due to happiness and 0.5% population growth bonus. And it gives us +1 increased farmland size, which it means extra farmland size means, as it says here, provides additional taxable income per turn, so it means more money. 5% public order bonus is nice. That's what the temples are for. In most of the time, you're looking for even public order bonus due to happiness or due to law. You need a public order from the religious building, and that is nice. Gives us a little bit population growth bonus in the first tier. So if you are seeking to expand your settlement, get it basically to the higher tiers, making it like minor city, large city, and a huge city later on. Population growth bonus is useful, and extra income never hurts. So Shrine to Demeter, that's what the building itself gives to us. Now let's take a look what kind of trait this building unlocks. So there's only one trait that requires Shrine to Demeter on Macedons at least, or tiers higher. And what I mean tiers higher, like in the same branch, but like temple, large temple, awesome temple, or pantheon, but at least needs to have a shrine to Demeter, is a trait for our merchant. Um, People who is following us already knows that we have talked about the devotions a lot, but whoever is it's the first video he's watching from this series, I will go into the devotions what they're talking about. So we are ignoring this first trait. It is I'm not being able to work with merchants with the console commands, so I can't clean this trait. So just ignore this. We're not gonna talk about it. That's how it's just recruited. We'll talk about devotion to farming. So we said Demeter temple is a temple of farming, and our merchant got a trait called devotion to farming. How does it work? So you have to have at least shrine to Demeter or the tiers above of the same branch, and you have to have a merchant, or you have to recruit a merchant in that settlement after this building is built, and next turn with 100% chance your merchant, if he's recruited or if he's just sitting in the settlement at the end of the turn, with 100% chance he will get a devotion to farming, and it gives us +1 finance when trading agricultural goods and -1 when trading marble. I mean, I'm not gonna go into the details. This is a completely different topic. On the maybe I will do trade guide or like merchant guide somewhat in the future. But just as you know, so this building can grant you the devotion to farming. And we will move forward with the second tier of Demeter building, which is Temple to Demeter. So as you see, all the bonuses grows twice as much. The public order bonus goes up to 10% from 5%. Population grow bonus goes up to whole 1% from 0.5%, and increased farmland size goes up to +2 from +1. So we see the steady increase on the stats. And now let's take a look what kind of traits and followers requires at least Temple of Demeter built in your settlement. So all the followers and traits are related to our generals, family members, faction leader, factionaires, so basically commanders. So there's only one trait that requires this building. It is grower, which is in the game files. It's called Good Farmer 1, which gives us +1 farming output. So since the temple is a farming temple and you have a trait related to those farming stuff, +1 farming output, exact same thing, very similar, gives us just extra money and nothing else, nothing more. No public order, no personal stats, only some basically income increase on the settlement. And how this trait works, you have to have Temple of Demeter or tiers above already built in your settlement, and your general, family member, factionaire, faction leader, whoever has to end the settlement in that has to end the turn in that settlement. Has to end the turn in that settlement, and next turn he'll have 10% of chance to be able to obtain this trait. So it doesn't mean necessarily that as a merchant devotions next turn for sure you will have it, but if you will make him stay in the settlement long enough, sooner or later he might get this trait with 10% of chance. So every turn that you click to the end turn button over here, you have 10% of chance to get this trait. And that's all about the traits. There is no other Demeter building, even in the higher tiers, that unlocks us any more traits. That's the only trait that it might get for us, and it only requires the Temple of Demeter. Now let's take a look to followers. Exact same building. We have agriculturalist, +1 farming output, exact same, but the follower version of this grower. At least the advantage about the followers, there's advantage and disadvantage. Advantage about the followers is you can move the followers from family member or general to another. So they are movable, but traits cannot be moved. But also there's a disadvantage. You can have up to 8 followers, no more than that. You will stop having followers once you reach the cap of 8, but you can have as many traits as he can get. So basically exact same thing, just a follower version, but the thing is it works exactly the same condition. You have to have a temple of Demeter or the tiers above already built in the settlement. At least you need to have a second tier of Demeter building, and your general or family member should end the turn at the settlement that you built this building. Next turn he'll only have just 5% of chance to be able to get this follower. We said this trade has 10% of chance to get triggered basically, but this has only 5. So exact same conditions with herbalist, but herbalist has 15% of chance, but everything else stays exactly the same. Now let's take a look what herbalist grants to our family member. Increases the chance of having children, improves the chances of casualties recovering from their wounds. So I do actually think about this follower higher than the other two we have already talked about. If you ask me why, first of all, increases having of children, it is good for me. I do like to play with generals or general cavalries a lot because they are pretty strong cavalry. They're you don't need to retrain them after each fight. They are basically retraining themselves, and improves the chances of casualties from recovering their wounds. There's a mechanic I've already talked about in the previous episodes, which, let's say you went to the battle and you deployed 100 men and you lost let's say 50 of those men, and you got 50 left, correct? The game at the end of each battle recovers, I think, between 10 to 20. I don't have the exact number, what's the percentage, but from 10% to 20% of the casualties are being recovered. So instead of having 50 basically healthy and ready to fight men after the battle, even you have 50 losses, you're having 50 basically plus 10 or 20, let's say in the middle, 15%. So what makes it? It makes a 7.5 men. So you're gonna have like 57, 58 men. So might not look like a lot, but it will be great future when you will use it correctly. So that increases that percentage. Doesn't say how much it increases that percentage, but it is I think a great thing. For example, if you have very basically strong but also very unique unit in your army composition. For example, I always give example for Carthaginian or Seleucid elephants. Let's say you have an elephant. What I do, I usually basically use the elephants at the very beginning. I make them charge to the enemy units, especially if they have a general cavalry. I am ordering them to go and charge the general cavalry. They are dealing significant amount of damage. They are destroying decent amount of their general cavalry. They are maybe routing or completely being killed. Let's say you have how many elephants? 5, 10, 15. And then I am sacrificing my militia hoplites or my basically town militia or whatever, very cheap units. On purpose I'm sacrificing it so these guys can get recovered after the battle. But keep in mind, if you will give these casualties at the, let's say you sent the militia hoplites first and then you sent the elephants is less likely gonna recover because the game always prioritizes the first casualties. So whoever got fallen on the war or battlefield first, they are getting recovered first. So keep that in mind and use it for your own good. I mean, I believe once you will understand the logic and how it works, you're gonna get benefited from it a lot. So and I think this basically bonus is very important and very useful if you applied it correctly. So, and let's get to the other follower, which is priestess of Demeter. We've already talked about these priests and priestesses in previous temple guide episodes a lot, but I'll just mention it one more. Every temple has its own unique priest or priestess, and they all works the same way, exact same conditions for those. They have 15% of chance for our family member or general to be able to obtain the priest or priestess. So in Demeter is a priestess, and with the 15% of chance, our family member or general might get it each turn. And what it gives to us, +1 management and +1 farming output. Again, farming output, finance related, management, and that's one of the things that I do like to see. Whenever I see plus morale, plus management, plus influence, that is what is takes my attention, and I feel like what they are actually important traits to see, because I always struggling to keep my management points higher or at least stable. You're losing management points if you have a lot of dinaries on your bank or whatever. And command is like, once you go to the war, if you will win decent amount of wars, you will get it increased. Influence the same way. It is not so difficult to keep the influence high, but management is so difficult to keep it high or even stable. So +1 management always excites me. So that's all about the Temple of Demeter. There is no other building of Demeter that unlocks us the new trait or followers. So basically all the traits and followers requires for the general is Temple of Demeter, and for only merchant there is one trait that we've all talked about, devotion, only requires the first tier. Now let's go ahead and just talk about the buildings themselves, bonuses. In the third tier, the same steady increase is being experienced, 15% from 10 on the public order, 1 point and half percent population growth from 1%, and increased farmland size goes up to extra 3 points from extra 2. So exact same steady bonuses we're experiencing. Same thing in fourth tier, 20% public order bonus, 2% population growth, and +4 extra income from the farmland. And let's take a look to their pantheon. We see our public order bonus went up to 25% from 20. Population growth bonus goes up to 2.5% from 2. Increased farmland size +5 from +4. So everything until here is exact same bonuses, just the steady increase. But extra, we are getting 2 more bonuses. Public order bonus due to low, 10%, and experience bonus to troops stained here +2. I mean, both is very solid bonuses. Public order, especially if you have reached to 24,000 population and higher, which means your for being able to build this pantheon, your settlement should be a huge city. So it means you already dealing more or less with public order. So public order we had already for happiness, and we're getting due to the low extra, which is great. I mean, that's a useful bonus to have. +2 experience, that is also great if you've reached to the huge city, and let's say you are recruiting constantly from this settlement. All your units, your missiles, your cavalry, your siege equipment, your foot troops, they all gonna have +2 experience, and it means they are already more experienced even before seeing the battlefield, you know. So both is very useful and pretty decent, I would say. A religious building branch, religious building option, if you basically planning to play on a little bit public order and trying to grow the settlement, so that's a good option. So let's jump to the second one on our list, which on Thessalonica I built a Zeus temple, and Zeus line, basically Zeus option. So the first here is shrine to Zeus. The Zeus is temple of governors. We say the Demeter is a farming temple, but Zeus is a governance temple. And at the first here it gives us 5% public order bonus due to happiness, 5% public order bonus due to law, which at the end both of them is a public order bonus. It gives us 10%. So it is heavily focused on basically, as from its name you can understand, governor. So it means it's like a management focused. It's like keeping the population happy and in order focused temple. So we're getting 10% public order bonus even from the first tier. So that's a very solid start. And let's see the trait we have. There's only one trait we'll talk about. Same thing as Demeter. We have devotion to governance for our merchant. Exact same conditions. You have to have shrine to Zeus built on your settlement already, and your basically merchant should end the turn in that settlement or should be recruited from that settlement. And next turn, in both options, you will have devotion to governance on your merchant. +1 finance when trading slaves, -1 when not trading slaves. So I've already seen this basically trait, not the under the devotion of governance, but in under different devotions. Extra plus when trading slaves, -1 when not trading slaves. I feel like there's basically devotions that usually gives you something and takes you something, takes from you something, right? I feel like this is one of the good ones that you might use, because after a certain, I would say, level, let's say you play Macedons, you have already conquered these areas, you're expanding to the north or to Italy or Anatolia, whatever. Let's say you came here and you captured Capua or you captured Syracuse or Messana here. They have already a decent amount of population, right? You cannot just go ahead and capture the settlement. You either have to exterminate or basically enslave them. And in most of the times, at least my personal preference is being enslaving them, because if they're not too high population, like for example Carthage doesn't work enslaving, you only have to exterminate them. It's just way too high population. Maybe same with Rome. Extermination probably. But if you want to keep enslaving them or at least capturing them, you have to leave the big chunk of garrison in the settlement. And usually I don't want to do that. I don't want to pay that much for the garrison. Also, I don't want to spare that much man force on as a defensive garrison. I do like them on the front lines for my conquests. So when you enslave them after one point, when you're getting further from your capital, which is Thessalonica is our capital, when you're getting further, and if the settlement population is already decent enough, let's say you don't have to, there's a Juvavum here, it's a small settlement, maybe this one over here is a small settlement. If it's a small settlement or one of these two guys, you don't have to enslave them. They don't already have too much population, which you don't have to deal with them a lot. But once they are already like the minor city or sometimes even a large town, depends how far it is from your capital, you're dealing with the public order issue. So you do enslave, and this enslaving also another bonus is grants extra population for the rest of your settlements. And so you're having a lot of basically settlements that you already have slaves, you doing enslavery in those settlements. So that bonus is pretty useful compared with the others. So that's it about the devotion, and it is also everything about the shrine to Zeus. There's nothing else that requires shrine to Zeus specifically. And now let's jump to the Temple of Zeus, which is a second tier building on our Zeus line. Both of public order bonuses goes up to 10% from 5, so altogether it makes 20% public order, which is huge in the second tier. The large town tier is a very decent, very huge bonus. Now let's talk about what kind of traits and what kind of followers it unlocks to us, it might grant to us. So we'll talk about again with our family member general traits. Of course, we are ignoring the faction leader. That's not something related to the temples at all. So the first trait I'll talk about, it's in the game files. It's called Authoritarian 1, and in here we see it as a strict governor, +1 unrest and +2 law. So both of them is related to the public order. So unrest means has a negative effect. It is like a debuff. It's like a negative bonus and a negative trait. And +2 law is a positive basically trait. Is a buff. So one is decreases your public order, another one is increases, but overall, so -1 +2, you are ahead, +1 public order, which is I would say positive trait. And as you already know, the public order is one of the things, most important things on governing settlements, for not making them rioting, losing your settlement, or keeping them happy so you can tax them and stuff. So it is a buff in my opinion, and it is a decent buff. I do like to see public order bonuses on settlements, so it is a good trait to have. And it has, for our family member general, they have 10% of chance at the end of each turn to be able to get this trait if the settlement already has a Temple of Zeus. And the followers, we see two followers over here. The first one is Freeman Clerk, +1 management, 10% bonus tax income. I've already talked about the management, and one of the things that I always like to see. And bonus tax income, it is better than having nothing, but I wouldn't consider it as a huge bonus. I mean, after one period in the game, maybe if you're already in the 20th or 25, maybe even 15th turn, if you played it right, I don't think so you will be having financial issues. You never run out of money unless you're just spending too much or you're not expanding enough. So bonus tax income, I mean, it is not so important thing I have. Let's just take a look how much taxes I'm getting. I'm getting like 585. Even the settlement is not very basically big settlement with a lot of futures. Let's see, very high taxes is like 1342 dinars per turn, and 10% of these will make like 134 extra dinars per turn. It might be important for you at the early stages in the game, but as I mentioned, like once you moving further, bonus tax income is not something very game changing. So but it is always good to have it, better than nothing, you know. But management is good to have. So, and we have a priest for the Zeus. Priest of Zeus gives us 1 influence, 1 management, and +1 command when defending walls. Very decent, very basically good follower, I would say. In my opinion, it is actually better than the priestess of Demeter. Why? Because both of them has a management, but this guy has extra influence. So if you don't know what the influence works for, let's say the another faction diplomat tries to make the pact with you, trying to negotiate with you, you will be more likely to make them accept your deal, even that is not in their favor. If you have a higher influence, you'll do it better. And also, if you have a higher influence, you'll have more basically general cavalry. Let's say we have 110 now. If you have, how many influence points we have? We have 3 points. If you have 7, you'll have maybe 120. And in early game, in late game, in every stage of the game, these general bodyguard are very strong units, very decent armored, very decent melee combat, and also they are basically replenishing themselves. So what else you can ask from the unit? So that's why I do basically think about influence as a very important stat, as well as management, which is directly affects to your income on the settlement, your public order on the settlement, to a lot of stuff. And +1 command when defending walls. I mean, +1 command, I've already talked about in the previous episodes. I'm not very excited about seeing +1 command. Also, never getting disappointed when I see -1, -2, -3 command, because I usually do fight the battles manually. I do jump to the battlefield and resolve the battles manually. So command doesn't have any effect on it. But if you auto-resolving your battles, then command is very important, because it determines how strong the AI will fight for you. So if you have a higher command points, you're gonna lose less men, inflict more damage. If you have it less, completely vice versa. So that's why I'm not very excited about to see the command, but why not? Just let's have +1 command when defending walls. Maybe sometimes I will feel just lazy enough to jump to the battlefield, and I will let it auto resolve, so that might be useful in that case. But overall, it's a pretty decent priest, priest of Zeus. So that is great. So on the third tier, our public order bonus overall goes up to 30%, 15, 15 on each from 20. And at the fourth tier, that goes up to 40, 20, 20 each. And at the Pantheon level, let's see what we have here. So public order bonuses goes up to 25% from 20, both of them. So it means overall 50% public order, which is huge. If you remember, we had 25 and 10, so it means 35 from Demeter. So this Pantheon gives us 50 already. 1% population grow bonus, increased farmland size plus 2, experience bonus to troops plus 2, and missile weapons plus 2. I mean, a lot of extra traits I'm seeing it here. Let's go one by one. Population grow bonus per turn 1%. So at the fifth tier means if you already build this Pantheon, your settlement already reached to the 24,000 population cap, and you've already built the royal palace. So I don't think so you need more population than 24,000. Usually in the game your goal is being that you want to reach your settlement to 24,000 so you can have a huge city, right? But why do I want to have like 35,000 population instead of 24? I would be more interested to decrease it a little bit if it's possible, so I don't deal with the public order issues. So population growth bonus is kind of doesn't make too much sense for me at this point of the game, because it means you're already later in the game. Maybe you're at the turn, maybe turn 60, turn 70, after the turn 50 for sure. So which means I don't think so you will need a population grow, unless you trying to break a record or something. Increased family size plus 2, again money, finance related. I don't think so in that stage of the game you will have any financial issues. If you've played it right, you should have already pretty decent income. But let's say if you're playing with less settlements but more improved settlements, I do usually play completely opposite. I expand as fast as possible, I conquer as much as possible, and basically maybe at the turn 30, if you've already checked my Greek cities campaign videos, we have like I think at the episode 30, 31, I don't remember which turn was it, maybe turn around 30, 35s, we've already finished the large campaign, so it means we had more than 50 settlements. Not all of them was very improved and stuff. I'm ending the turn not too often, but my income is pretty decent because I have a lot of settlements. So again, I mean that might be conditionally. If you playing with less settlements but very strong settlements, then it's useful. But if you're playing the same strategy as me, like having a lot of settlements, not caring about how good they are too much, then not too much for you because you'll have decent income anyways. Experience bonus to troops trained here, exact same thing we've talked in Demeter. It's a very useful even in that stage. If you'll keep pumping armies from the settlement, they will have plus 2 experience already. And if you will do missile weapons, which means peltasts, archers, you will have plus 2 missile weapon is extra strength. So this is you can make a great missile units from here. And I believe if you're here, you won't be dealing with peltasts anymore. Probably you can just recruit archers. So it means your archer starts with extra 2 experience point and 2 missile weapon, which is great. I mean, they will just melt down the opponent units much easier than they would without those, you know. So a very good basically line of religious building. I would consider building a Temple of Zeus pretty much on all of my settlements. Of course that really changed, that is conditionally, but at least I would say in 70-80% of my settlements I would go with Zeus so far, because all the public order bonuses and stuff, that would be very useful to have. Now let's jump to Artemis line. This is the another option for the Macedons. So Artemis basically considered as a temple of hunting, and at the first tier basically hunting temple, Shrine to Artemis grants us 5% public order bonus due to happiness and plus 1 missile weapon upgrade. even from first tier you already have +1 missile weapon upgrade. Probably in this stage of the game you'll only have um, basic accessibility for peltasts, so your peltast gonna be a bit more stronger. And since it's hunting, so ranged basically missile related bonus is makes sense. I can see what the developers are referring to here, and 5% public order bonus is not bad, so I would say a decent start for a first tier building. And we have a devotion for our merchant here, devotion to hunting. Most of the time we see on devotions it grants us +1 finance and -1 for something, but this is one of the basically uncommon devotions. I think we've seen one with Greek cities too. I forgot which devotion was it. It was giving us +1 finance twice for different goods and -1, but I don't recall currently which temple was it. So devotion to hunting, +1 finance when trading hides, +1 when trading wild animals, -1 when trading olive oil. I mean, if you min-maxing your trade income, that's one of the traits that you want to consider, that it comes with Shrine to Artemis. Same conditions as other devotions, you have to Shrine to Artemis at least build or tiers above, and also your merchant should be recruited right after, or just if you've already recruited it, just let him sit at the settlement at the end of the turn, and next turn with 100% you will be getting devotion to hunting. And now let's jump to the second tier. I am believing that we'll have a exact twice increase over here, 10% public order, +2 missile weapon. If I'm not mistaken, in this tier already we should have built, oh actually my bad, in first tier you not even having an access for peltasts. But what you can do, if you have peltast unit already or recruited from somewhere, I'm not so sure does it applies to mercenaries or not, but I believe they should. You can bring them to the settlement, they'll have +1, and from large town like second tier you're gonna be able to have +2 missile weapon upgrade and 10% public order bonus. And now let's take a look to traits and followers. So faction here, again, we do ignore, it's not related to our temple guide. The first trait that we will be seeing here is the good ambusher, and in the game files it's called the exact same, good ambusher first tier, good ambusher 1, and has 10% of chance for your general or family member to be able to obtain that trait if they are sitting on a settlement which Temple of Artemis or higher tiers of Artemis built already, and gives us +1 command when ambushing. I mean, in general, +1 command, I have already shared my opinion about the command stat with you. It is only useful if you auto-resolving, and this, when ambushing condition, it narrows down the basically the general usage of the bonus to a much smaller area. So I don't know how often you ambush. I mean, it is maybe I do once or twice in a campaign, and maybe sometimes I don't do it at all. So a very basically conditional bonus. So I wouldn't consider it as a bonus at all, to be honest. It is, I don't know when you're gonna be benefited from it, but at least it's +1. It's something green, so why not to have it, right? And about the followers, we have 3 followers here. Let's start with Beastmaster. The Beastmaster is very difficult to get. It has only 6% of chance at the end of each turn for your general or family member to be able to get this follower. +1 command when commanding cavalry, and 15% discount on animal unit training costs. So again, about command, not so exciting. When commanding cavalry, for a faction like Macedons, it actually might be useful if you're playing with auto resolve, because I do at least play with their what is called the, what cavalry is that, lancers, something lancers, light lancers. They're surprisingly very strong unit. I do love to play with them a lot. I do like to train them a lot. So because even in the very like a beginning tier cavalry has like 8% 8 morale, I'm sorry, 8 morale, which is huge. I mean, morale is one of the important things if you are fighting the battles manually or so not using arcade mode. Morale is very game changing, like life changing key points on the battlefield. So they have a high morale and a very high charge. So I have basically um, get benefited from light lancers a lot in my previous Macedon campaigns. I do love to play Macedons a lot because one of the reasons is their light lancers, to be honest. I do enjoy to play with Macedons. I do find them very strong unit. With the Greek cities, if you'll compare, they both have hoplites and staff. I might say maybe in some points the foot troops of the Greek cities are a bit of step ahead for their armored hoplites and especially their Spartan hoplites. But Greek cities, unfortunately, they are lack of cavalry. But Macedons are covering that gap very nicely. They have their light lancers as a very strong starting unit, very strong early game cavalry unit. And also, I can't say the same thing for the Greek cavalry. I think that's a Greek cavalry, right? I don't like to use them a lot. But once you will have the Macedonian cavalry, again, they're very strong. They are not as strong on the charge as the light lancers, which is very surprising, but they have a much higher armor and defense. And at the last tier of basically stables, you're being able to get the companion cavalry, which is, I would say, one of the best cavalry units in the game. So um, that is actually a good thing to have, like a commanding cavalry command if you're fighting without the resolve. And 15% discount on animal unit training costs. There's a thing. If even in all conditions, I don't think that is very useful, basically, trait to have, because you will not be having money issues a lot, I assume. But let's say even if you do, there's a condition. If it is applied only for dogs and pigs, it is useless. I mean, most of the time you don't basically recruit a lot of dogs or pigs unless you're just trying to play a farming simulator, you know. But if this discount also applies for the cavalry, then that might be a decent saving over here. Even if you do care about the money less like me, it might be a decent amount of saving. So how you can try that? If you have a Beastmaster, just check the price of the basically light lancer, and it says 140 over here. Let's see if I will do it here. Is it the same? Probably it doesn't show it here. The best thing, you just build stables on two different settlements. In one settlement let you have a Beastmaster and check the price. If you have a discount, then that is better than I think. But if it's only applied for dogs and pigs, then like that's trash. But commanding cavalry might be useful for you if auto resolving conditionally. Pet hunting dog, it has a little better chances of getting this follower, which is 15 compares to 6 and 9% more. 15% of chance gives us +1 line of sight, increases the range at which enemies are spotted. So it means like line of sight is this area, you see. The others are like fogged, like blacked out, but this area is lightly, so it means I do see what is going on over here. Having an extra line of sight is a good basically bonus to have, especially if the guy sits in the settlement. That doesn't matter too much, but it still does matter, but not that much. But if he's going to the conquest, then it's better. You can see the enemy movements from further, you know. And also you might make your decisions, you might make your roadmap because of some extra information that this extra line of sight will grant you. So overall, not bad. And as I already mentioned, 15% of chance. Priestess of Artemis, again exact same way with the other priestess and priestess. 15% of chance here too. Let's see what it grants to us. +1 management, which is good. I do like to see that. +2 command when ambushing, again pretty much no use for that. +1 to line of sight, again, not bad, and 20% discount on animal unit training costs. Again, this is better than Beastmaster. If it covers the cavalry prices as well, then it's useful. If not, then not. So let's see. Actually, we can. Why we just test it real quick? So it is Larissa. Let's build this building and let's build stables in Thessalonica as well to just compare that. Does it really work? It's actually interesting for me too. So how much is over here? It is 370 denaries to be able to recruit these guys over here, and 370 here. So it means it doesn't work. Let's see, is any other... How are we getting pigs and stuff anyways? So Macedons are not even being able to get the pigs or dogs. Alright, then it is completely useless for Macedon. So it means this discount and this discount both pretty useless, just as a bonus over there. They don't even have an access, so it doesn't work on cavalry. That's what we learned at least. And also they don't even have an access for dogs or pigs at all. Even you're not gonna use them, that's not downside at all, I would say. But yeah, I mean, they are useless. So overall, is the only good thing about this follower is a +1 management. I mean, yeah, I would rather to have another priest as Zeus or Demeter more than priest of Artemis. But yeah, that's what it is. So let's move with the higher tiers. Steady increase, 15% public order bonus from 10%, and +2 missile weapon bonus goes up to extra 3, and at the 4th tier missile weapon upgrade stays exact same, but our public order bonus goes up to 25 from 15. Usually in the 4th tier we usually see 20%, that's how it works, but since they were not able to get more than 3 points of missile weapon upgrade, and then they did extra 10% public order bonus, which is still good. I mean, the building itself not bad so far. Let's check the Pantheon. Public order stays same, missile weapon stays same. We are having 10% extra public order bonus due to low. Useful, so 35% altogether, same as Demeter Pantheon. And population grow bonus 1%, not something excites me. Farmland size +2, again in that tier I wouldn't care about that income, neither this population growth a lot. So overall it is, I would say, meh, basically religious building choice. I would go with Demeter or especially Zeus much higher than having the Artemis. But I mean, if you just want to get these followers as like having the collection or something, that's different story, but I wouldn't do that in my normal gameplay. So let's jump to the last basically temple of RS. That's the last option, last religious option, religious building option for Macedons, which is RS is a temple of violence. If you've already watched the previous temple guide episodes, we started with the Romans, and when we captured the episode for Brutii Romans, they had a temple called Mars, and the Mars was also temple of violence. So you might see very similar, exact same traits and followers here as well, maybe with slight differences. But we've already talked about the temple of violence. Now we do see another temple of violence on Macedons. Shrine to Ares. At the first tier, we are having only 5% of public order bonus due to happiness. I mean, with the others, we've seen either extra money bonuses, population grow bonuses, or missile weapon bonuses, or instead of 5%, we got 10% with the Zeus. So only 5%. So at the first tier, it stays a step behind of all other temple options. But let's see how it will continue. And we have a devotion to violence. For our merchant, exact same condition, 100% of chance. If this building already built and the merchant is ending the turn at the settlement or recruited freshly from the settlement, +1 finance when trading live goods, -1 when trading homewares. If you want to basically get benefited from it, that's just extra knowledge for you. I won't stay too much on it, and I will just jump to the second tier. That was the only bonus Shrine to Ares grants to us. So weak start so far. Let's see what happens in the second tier. 10% public order bonus we got from 5%, and we started to have extra 1 experience point to the troops that trained here. So +1 experience from the as early as the second tier building. It is good, actually. I would say pretty decent to have. So it means you probably gonna have a large town. You're gonna have a lot of large towns at the early stage. There's not too many settlements that has less than 2,000 population. There's just a few, but yeah, most of the time you're gonna be able to build this building. You're gonna have an access for it, and if you will decide to recruit it in there, that is great. You have better units already. Let's say you're fighting against Greek cities, against, let's say, Thracians or whatever, or even Romans. Your hoplites, your lancers is gonna have extra 1 experience point, which extra 1 experience point, what it grants to us is all these stats you see has +1. So I'm not so sure about morale, but melee attack, alternative attack, defense, armor, which this guy doesn't have. He's gonna have +1 armor, defense skill, everything. I mean, of course, shield is gonna stay 0 because he doesn't have a 0, and ammo and missile range not gonna increase as well, since this is not a missile unit. But you understood what I was trying to explain. Everything that he already has will increase except morale, and not so sure about charge. So even in that condition, it's pretty decent. So, and let's see what kind of traits and bonuses we're getting. We have, oh, by the way, I actually forgot to mention that we have a follower that requires Shrine to Ares and tiers above, which is that follower is a wrestler, +1 influence and +1 personal security. So influence, I said, I talked about Modfully, is a very good stat to have. Always higher influence, go for it, and it's nice to have. Personal security, it's buff. +1 personal security means the enemy assassins is gonna have much more difficulty if your personal security is higher. So they're not gonna be able to kill or like basically assassinate your family member or general if their personal security is higher. But I mean, it sounds like a good thing. Actually, it is a good thing. But ask it to yourself how often you suffered from assassination kill in your gameplays. I didn't do a lot, to be honest. I mean, not in Rome Total War. In medieval Total War, I feel like assassinations are more basically worth it thinking about, but I pretty much never suffer from getting assassinated. Especially for being able to recruit assassins at the first place, you have to, I guess, have at least a minor city and recruit an assassin, which most of the time you don't even see a lot of assassins around on the map. So it is good to have, never hurts to have this guy. It is good to have, but not very important. Influence is much more important. So this wrestler has basically 12% of chance at the end of each turn if you've already built the Shrine to Ares or tiers above. So it has a 12% of chance if your family member or general ending the turn in that settlement, but there's a little difference from the other traits and follows we've already talked about. This guy has an extra condition as well. So the settlement that for being able to get this guy, your family member or general should end the turn in a settlement with Shrine to Ares and tiers above. Also, that settlement shouldn't be basically bigger than minor city. So that settlement should has at most governor's palace, or if you have governor's house or governor's villa, it will still work. So you wouldn't be able to get this follower in the if your settlement is already a large city or a huge city, if you've already upgraded the governor's palace to higher tiers. So the max cap for governor's building is the governor palace, and you have to have at least this shrine to Ares. So what you can understand from that, for being able to get this basically follower, your settlement should be in between town and minor city, and he will have 12% of chance at the end of each turn to be able to get that follower. And yeah, let's jump to the second tier of RS building. We said experience and 10% public order bonus, and let's look at the traits that we are getting with it. So the first one in the game files, it goes under anger 1, and as we see the same name here, anger, and -1 influence. I mean, I would never like to lose my influence point. It is very important for me, so it is completely and one of the strong, I would say, debuffs, negative traits. So so unlucky for you if you got this already. I mean, not very heavy negative trait, but it is pretty negative for me, you know. And 10% of chance for your family member or general each turn to be able to get this trait. So let's look at from the different window. I would say with the 90% of chance you won't be able to get this trait, but with the unfortunate 10% you might. So we have bloodthirsty 1 trait here, which is called bloody in here. +1 command and +1 morale for all troops on the battlefield. So command part doesn't excite me. It might do it for you if you're auto resolving again, but +1 morale just for this trait, I would take that every day. It has 10% of chance for your general family member to be able to get this trait at the end of each turn, but +1 morale is very important. That's, I would say, probably the best bonus that I would like to have. If I have to like make a tier list on my mind, what I want to see, what I would like to see a lot, probably the S tier would be +1 morale, and I would say at the A tier I can put plus influence, plus management, maybe plus experience, and then the others at the bottom, basically stuff, you know. So +1 morale is, I would say, maybe the most important thing if you're fighting the battles manually. And the last trait on the list is lively. In the game files it goes under energetic 1. 15% of chance for your general or family member to be able to get that guy, and +1 management, it is good to see. 10% movement points and 5% discount on construction costs. So it kinda doesn't fit under one role. I mean, there's some traits like, for example, bloody. This is, as you see, command morale. This is for the family member or general who is commanding your armies, who is going to conquest, to campaigns. There's some traits like, for example, over here we've talked farming output, management, farming output. That is for governor traits, which this traits never useful if you send them to the war, but it is very useful if the guy stays in the settlement and rules the settlement. This one over here is a little bit mix of both. I mean, this part is governor trait, but this part is actually the general trait, I would say. And 5% discount on construction costs. I mean, it is also governor trait. You're building the buildings much cheaper. For example, let's try to build the barracks here. It's 570 dinaries, where this guy builds it for 600. So you save 30 dinaries on one building and basically 5% on every building. I'm wondering, does it apply to siege equipment? I probably would say that probably doesn't apply to the siege equipment, but if it does, again, it's not very huge. And the last follower that we'll talk about in this episode, in this Macedon temple guide is Priest of Ares. +2 command when attacking. I mean, again, command is not something very good for me to see. Doesn't work for me. And when attacking, I mean, yeah, I do attack a lot than defending myself, but it is not something very useful. So overall, I would say that might be the probably the worst, yeah, probably the worst priest or priestess in the Macedon lines. I would say the best is the Zeus one. The Zeus basically priest is the best, and second I would say the Demeter priest is the second best, and third best is might be the priestess of Artemis, and the Ares priest is the worst in my opinion. And let's move with the higher tier Ares temples. So on the third tier we have a large temple of Ares. 10% public order bonus goes up to 15% in this tier, and experience +1 point goes up to experience +2. Very decent on the minor city. It is not very difficult to reach a minor city, and even you will start with couple minor cities already. Thessalonica starts as a minor city, and it is not very difficult to get the Corinth or Larissa to minor city, even the Bilazoria. And the settlements you will probably most likely basically expand, like Sparta, Athens, and the Byzantium, like this area in general, or Anatolia or Romans, already very close or already a minor city. So +2 experience is pretty real bonus for you to have. It is not something difficult to get it. So it is huge actually. And the awesome temple of Ares is +3 experience from +2, 20% public order bonus. We see the steady increase here. Now let's take a look to the Pantheon. So public order bonus goes up to 25% from 20%. Our experience bonus stays exact the same as the previous tier, +3. But see what we have here. Morale bonus to troops 10 tier +1. Again, very strong bonus. Unfortunately, it is very difficult to get till this point. I mean, I'm not about to end my world domination on the Greek city campaign. You can take a look from my channel too, but we are getting there slowly. But I don't even have any huge cities yet, so which means even if you have 24,000 population already, it's gonna take 6 turns to build this settlement. To build this building, Royal Palace, as you see. And after the 6 turns, it's gonna take another 6 turns to build this Pantheon. So it means you have to reach to 24,000 population, and then you have to skip 12 turns for being able to get this bonus. I mean, it is difficult, but if you're playing a long campaigns, if you pressing the end turn more often than how I do now, then yeah, it is good to have. But morale is a very strong thing to have. So a trade income bonus 20%. I mean, better than not having it. Extra money never hurts, but I don't think so. In this stage, you'll be desperate for money, and this 20% will be, how can I say, game changing for you. I mean, how much trade we have now? We have 28 in this settlement, 100 in here, 250 over here, and 100 here. In this area, the most trade bonus usually comes from the Athens, if you will conquer it. And even like 20%, let's say you have 2,000 dinaris comes from the trade, 20% will make it like 400, so you'll get 2,400. And how important 400 denarii gonna be for you in that stage of the game? So I will not consider it very strong bonus, but better than not having it. Population growth bonus, again, I mean, not useful, but public order bonus 10%, that is useful. I mean, that is good to have. So overall, this Pantheon is, I would say, above average. The whole basically branch I'm talking about, above average, but is not good as Zeus. So my personal opinion would be, I would build probably Temple of Zeus with Macedons pretty much everywhere. But if I wanna basically make some, depends on your game style as well. If you guys want to make couple strongholds in different front lines, let's say I've conquered the whole this area, Byzantium is mine, I got Apollonia here, I united the whole Greek peninsula, and I am preparing to the war against Romans. Let's say we even already conquered the Syracuse, right? If I'm preparing war to Romans, or if I'm preparing a conquest to Anatolia with Seleucids, with Egypt, whoever, or North. So in certain settlements, you can go ahead and build, you can use your temple option from RS. Let's say Bilazora gonna be your stronghold, and Bilazora is gonna be the settlement that you will be pumping armies for the future conquests, or Syracuse is gonna be the basically military headquarters for your Carthaginian and Roman operations, and you'll keep pumping armies from here. You won't be building economical buildings, you will be upgrading your barracks, staples, siege basically building. I don't know how it's called, rangery or whatever. Let me just double check. Yeah, practice range and stuff. So if you will be focused in military buildings and training heavily military units, then I would say building RS temples, going with RS lines might be a better idea for you because of the experience bonuses, and if you will reach to the 5th tier Pantheon, morale bonus. But pretty much everywhere else, just go with Zeus temple. That's my personal preference, and that's what I would suggest to you folks. But if you want to give it a shot to Artemis, I don't know why you will do that, or Demeter, it might be some points to do that, so then go for it. If you want to build one basically Demeter building, I would say don't build more than in 1 or 2 places, and if you want to build it, check it from here. See where's the farms are good. For example, in Bilazora, you can go ahead and open the settlement income. It says farms at the poor harvest, so it means it is not very suitable settlement for farming, because as you see geographically, it's more like forests and mountains, so that makes sense that there is no good harvest here. But now let's take the Thessalonica, same thing, poor harvest, probably the same reasons. Let's see, do we have a good harvest? So average harvest in Larissa, somehow even it has mountains, it says, and Larissa has a average harvest, and Corinth has a good harvest, for example. So probably it also affects with the climate too. I don't know how it's being coded in the game. So the good harvest, if you want to build a Demeter temple, just make sure your settlement has a good harvest rate, so you can basically maximize your profit from it. And I think the Athens, I'm not so sure how is their actually how is their farming bonus, but if you're able to reach, for example, to the Roman areas, if I'm not mistaken, Syracuse has a good farming, and Patavium, this settlement, Gallic settlement here, should have a good basically farming output. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about Macedon Temple, folks. I tried to cover everything as much as possible. I hope you got something useful for yourselves from this episode, from this information. I do myself, I've been playing this game for a decent amount of time, and every time I do enjoy to make this series, because I do get some new information in pretty much every episode for myself as well, and I'm very being excited and happy to share them with you as well. And so I'm hoping that that was useful for you. If it was, and if it you guys and gals did enjoy, please like and subscribe. I would appreciate the support with the interactions a lot. And I will probably I'm doing this series every week, every Friday I'm posting this series. Probably next week I will continue with Seleucids or Thracians, one of them. I'm gonna finish the Greek cultures first, and then we'll jump to the other culture temples. So long story short, I will be with you next week with another Greek cultured faction temple guide. And since then, take care of yourselves, and don't forget to take a look to my Greek cities campaign, and see you since then.